we're not heading towards a collapse. This is the empire actively collapsing.
I got laid off from my corporate job yesterday. And I think that this is the reality for a lot of Americans right now, and it needs to be shared because America is not doing well right now. We have a 94% prediction rate that the recession is going to come, but yet our frickin' administration hasn't even made the move to actually say that a recession is coming.
America is collapsing before our very eyes. Restaurants are closing their doors for good in my city at a record pace. They're blaming it on a slow season, but I think it's something else. You can't tell me the amount of abandoned strip malls that I drive by on a daily basis is normal. I know you've seen it too. All these places just get replaced with the capybara cafe de jour or a flower store to placate the masses, if you know what I mean. There used to be 24-hour diners, family-owned restaurants, even bookstores, I don't know, third spaces. Now, nothing.
Hello guys, hello good people guys, welcome back again to my channel. Now, something powerful is happening in America right now. White folks are losing their minds, not because black people are rioting, not because black people are protesting, but because black people have gone silent. Just imagine that. The silence of black people is making white people or white Americans uncomfortable. That silence enough is shaking the entire system. I think I've done this video before, and this is just going to be a repetition of our previous video. How the silence of the black people is shaking or worrying the white Americans. We must admit that silence is not weakness. Silence is power. And when you are silent, when you are a silent man, your enemies must get worried, because they don't know what you're planning in silence. So therefore, the silence of black people is making the white Americans uncomfortable. Why? It is because when the oppressed stop rioting or reacting and start preparing, the empire, the entire empire starts to crumble. And that's what's exactly happening in America. So we'll be honest, we'll watch some videos here, then we come back and have a chat as far as this topic is concerned. And of course, if you love this video, if you're here for the first time, I thank you so much guys. Please subscribe and support this African, because we have a task. We have a bond to chew together, and that bond is uniting black Africans and the black Americans together. You want to bridge the gap between African people and the American black people, so that we realize who we really are. We are very powerful because black is power. So guys, let's watch this clip, then come back and have a chat.
Look at this. I took this picture about 10 minutes ago. The 10-year Treasury note is at 4.5%, and it's climbing. Yeah, as you can see here, it's going up. And that is really, really bad news, because as this heads towards 5%, yeah, 5% would be complete disaster. Yeah, and that's only happening for one reason. It's happening because people are losing faith in the United States. They're losing faith in us. So that's why Treasury yields are going up. They're going up because countries are going, I don't think I'm going to keep loaning money to America. I think I'm going to pass. And if that keeps happening, within a month or two, the United States is bankrupt. I want you to understand right now, right here, just how dire it really is. Because around the world, they do not believe in this administration. They don't believe any
Apartments that sit vacant forever. Grocery stores that have been closed for 10 years. So much wasted space in empty parking lots until some TikTok trend comes, opens for 6 months, and then that closes too. I know I'm not alone in this, but yet every single time I bring it up, I get all the bots in my comments telling me the economy's never been better. But I ask, for who? Like 100 people at the top? So the billionaires are doing great. I don't care. People like you and me, we're struggling out here. All my friends live in vans. And if we are lucky enough to have apartments or houses, we're living behind locked doors and closed blinds because there's no community here anymore. Restaurants are just the beginning. They're the canary in the coal mine. Once they're gone, so are all of our meeting places, our birthday parties, our community, and third spaces. They're not just a place to buy food. They're a pulse of the neighborhood. And also, as a live singer, something hugely important to my job. I used to sing 5 nights a week. Now I'm lucky if I can find a Sunday night gig. So I'm just here to say, if this is what a booming economy sounds like, it must be the sound of doors slamming shut. And I don't know about you, but I'm making my exit plan. We're moving to Portugal soon, where they still have cafes and restaurants that people actually go to. If you find that interesting, stick around. Because I can tell you this is not normal. And don't let internet comments gaslight you into thinking it.
America is about to hit stage 5 of democratic collapse, and most democracies never make it back from here. The world thought American democracy was too strong to fall. They said the same about Rome, Weimar Germany, and Venezuela. And here's the 6-stage pattern every democracy faces. First, economic crisis creates a dictatorial opportunity. Secondly, a strongman seizes power legally. Thirdly, institutions get systematically controlled. Fourth, there's a democratic facade, but the outcomes are predetermined. And then, number 5, elites split, there's mass resistance, and the system is vulnerable. And then either, 6, complete collapse or permanent dictatorship. America is oscillating between stages 4 and 5 right now. And here's the historic pattern. Rome had land inequality, had led to a strongman exploiting legal loopholes, and the Republic becomes an empire. The Weimar Republic has an economic collapse. Hitler gains power constitutionally. Democracy is destroyed in months. In Hungary, Orbán wins elections legally. The media is controlled, courts are packed, and now they live in competitive authoritarianism. In Venezuela, Chavez, elected democratically, packs the courts, rigs elections, authoritarian government with a democratic facade. United States, 2025, economic inequality, Trump elected twice, Schedule F purging career officials, Supreme Court packed. Will it be democracy or dictatorship? The cultural reality. Americans' high individualism makes collective resistance harder. Americans excel at personal resistance, but struggle to work together. The critical window is now. 5 to 11 million protesters hit the street. In many cities, it hit 3.5% threshold where regimes fall. Republican elites are fracturing, but F is replacing career officials with loyalists, and the Supreme Court is generally loyal to Trump. Expect one of 3 outcomes by 2027. Authoritarian entrenchment, America becomes hungry, democratic restoration, institutions force Trump and the Republican regime out, or total system breakdown where the U.S. reinvents itself as it has done several times. Societies that recognize this pattern and act decisively survive as democracies. Those that assume that it can't happen here discover it already has. America is facing this test now. Will it act in time? An in-depth analysis about this at culturalperspective.com.
You guys, this is not leading to a collapse. This is the empire collapsing. I feel like a lot of people think that things always happen all at once. That's not how it works. The empire is collapsing. And Trump's kind of shock and awe campaign, federalizing the police and saying that he's going to be adding troops to all these cities, that is just getting you comfortable with it and used to it, so that when they start making protests illegal and, Palantir has already taken over and has all of your biometric data, then they can start using some of the tactics they've been using in Gaza over here. We have a flaccid Congress that should be checking the president's power, but they're not. Instead, they're running around kissing the asses of Israeli officials and insider trading. It just got reported that Rick Scott, who's one of the most corrupt senators we've ever had, made almost $30 million only just recently off insider trading. Amazing. This is the decadent collapse. It's already happening, and we don't even have an opposition party to fight it.
Most of the world has decided to stop shipping. They stopped their shipments to the United States, their imports. As of today, there are 33 countries that have announced that they have suspended their shipments to the United States due to the ending of the de minimis, which is a tax exemption, a duties exemption that allowed packages and shipments coming into the United States under the value of $800 to be duty free. That ended today. And before it could officially end, countries around the world had already started announcing that they're not shipping over here anymore. If you think that I'm lying, just head over to USA Today to look at the list of all of the countries that have announced that they are no longer shipping to the United States. All right. And just to give you a little idea, I'm going to read off some of the countries that are on this list. Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, India, Italy, Japan, and the list goes on. See, the UN's Universal Postal Union, right? Which deals with the postal servicing of 192 countries, came out and stated that the changes will entail considerably operational changes for postal operators all around the world. And when the agency, right, was questioned by USA Today, they stated that they couldn't announce the names of these countries that decided that they will be suspending their imports to the United States. But then these countries decided to start announcing it themselves. They just started coming out and telling you guys, yeah, we're not shipping to the United States anymore. This should be bigger news, but for some reason it's not really being broadcasted. And I wonder why, considering that we are all going to feel it. For all of you guys who kept saying that we weren't going to feel any of the effects of what Donald Trump was doing until after the 4 years, we're feeling it now. We're feeling it now. Let me just let you know what we're all about to start experiencing, okay? We're going to be dealing with the increased cost of consumers. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying this from the beginning, but now you're really going to start feeling it. When you walk into those stores and you see that the prices actually jumped considerably, then you're going to start to realize the severity of what everybody was trying to explain to you guys. In addition to that, we're also going to be dealing with the impact on small businesses, okay? Essentially causing a lot of them to shut down. Why? Because the higher costs in operations, or it's going to take to operate their small business, as well as the loss in international consumers, okay? You're also going to have to deal with regulation changes. Now that all of these countries have decided to take a pause in shipping over to the United States, who's to say that they're not going to change how they deal with shipment and how they deal with tariffs? And overall, the trade relations is about to change in a way that a lot of us can't even handle. I'm going to be so honest with you. So yeah, all that talk about we're going to feel it in the 4 years, we're not going to really feel it right now. No. We're feeling it now. We're feeling it now.
We're not having conversations about this collapse in public settings, so the outside just feels normal. Because no one outside is actually talking about the shit that's going on. Everyone is just pretending that things are okay. We're all masking, trying to act like things are normal because we see other people pretending that things are normal. But it's one of those things where it's like hive mind mentality, because other people are acting calm, so other people think they must remain calm and remain, in a well-behaved manner. But it's like, no, we all know what the fuck is going on. It's just like when we're in a public setting, everyone is acting like nothing is going on. We're all acting like, oh, this is just today. We got to do what we got to do. Like, we have to continue to keep contributing to the system, when it's like, actually, no, we don't. Actually, no, we fucking don't. And the fact that we aren't in public settings, like having these conversations, that's why every time you go outside, it's like, oh, everyone's just going about their day as normal. And it's not that these people aren't thinking the same things that you're thinking. It's just like no one's bringing it up. No one's making it like a topic of discussion. No one's really like trying to basically break through the system. Like, so you go outside and you have conversations, but they're like not real conversations. It's just small talk. You're just basically like having filler conversations because everyone's just pretending that nothing is really like going on. But deep down, we all know that. But we get in public and want to, remain normal or seem normal and not have a freak out. And, just like, I feel like people are too focused on like how they're appearing to other people. And so we're all trying to like mask and just look like everything is normal on the outside. But we all know that this shit is chaotic. And if we have these conversations in public settings, I feel like that would get the ball rolling. I genuinely do.
I really don't know how much longer we're going to take this and not see that both of these parties are in it together. You guys, as somebody who voted for this administration, I'm never voting again. It's all a sham. But as somebody who took part in voting for this administration, I know that the goal was to cut the fat and to get back to basics. And you guys, as they're standing up there blaming an entire party who doesn't have control for this shutdown, they are reaching their goals and meeting their agenda at the same time while they're getting to offload the blame. And then the Democrats are just blaming the Republicans right back. All the while, Mike Johnson literally told the House Republicans to not show up for work and to let the government shut down. Now you have Vice President J.D. Vance saying that, oh, well, if it continues to linger, then we're going to have to do some layoffs. Like, that wasn't the whole point in the beginning. And I just don't know how much longer we're going to take that they are working against us while they're going to collect a paycheck. The military is not going to collect a paycheck, and they really want you to know that, all the while they're deploying these National Guard troops all throughout the country, authorizing full force against the citizens. And it's just like they want it to collapse and nobody can see it. Everybody everybody's still taking the talking points and blaming the left and blaming the right, and it's exhausting. It's infuriating, and I don't know how much longer you guys are going to take it. I can't bear it anymore. I just don't know how much longer it's going to go on. Take care of your neighbor, you guys, and take care of your own, because no one else is going to take care of you. God bless America.
What in the world is going on in the United States right now? I'm Patrick. I'm a historian. I've spent much of my adult life studying political collapse and fragmentation in various historical contexts. Here's what I think. So, first thing you got to understand is that no political system, no state lasts forever. They do fall apart. They do fragment. They do break to pieces. They tear themselves apart. They are ripped apart from outside. This is part of, if we want to use a biological metaphor, the life cycle of a state, of a political system. There are good reasons for this. The biggest one is that the institutions that define those states, those political systems, come into being for particular reasons at particular moments in time. They tend to be suited to those moments. And you think about the American system, well, that was the product of the post-revolution compromise between the original 13 colonies to try to create a workable system of government in that context at that specific time. That was before the invention of the cotton gin. That was before the massive expansion of slavery to the West. And you could see over the course of the early 19th century how these kinds of deep structural tensions were a direct product of the way that the founders had set up the government through the Constitution. We have since had two pretty major refoundings of the United States, maybe three if you want to count the New Deal. I mean, the first one is Reconstruction. The second, maybe the New Deal. The third would be the Civil Rights Movement. So we have done some pretty major updates to our political system over the course of American history. We have now reached, it seems pretty clear to me, the end of the last one. Whatever sort of kind of broad consensus about the nature of American politics and the American nation that came out of the 1960s, that's gone. That's over. That's done. If the death of the Voting Rights Act not too long ago wasn't the final nail in that coffin, I think the Supreme Court decision that just came down today, essentially legalizing racial profiling, pretty strong step in that direction. So I think we are currently living through the disintegration of an American republic. I think what comes after this, your guess is as good as mine. I think that really depends on what political stakeholders in this country want to do, how long Donald Trump stays alive, if there is in fact a succession plan for him, if those people are ready to put in place a new set of institutional arrangements based around presidential power and imperial presidency. The theory of the unitary executive is what they seem to be working with. They want to do that, then this is the opportunity to do it. This moment of essential crisis where opposition to them is not particularly strong, where they hold control of the state apparatus. If they really want to do it, they can. So I need you to take that seriously. If you're looking at this situation, trying to make sense of it, you need to understand we are dealing with the fragmentation and end of a republic.
August 11th, 2025, the U.S. national debt surpassed $37 trillion. It is now September 18th, 2025, and the national debt has just surpassed $37 trillion and $500 billion. The interest expense alone on the debt is now at $1 trillion. And that is likely to hit $1.1 trillion by the end of fiscal year 2025, which is the end of October. On top of this, when you look at the economic data coming out, it looks like in Q3 we are going to have a growth of GDP of about 1.2 to potentially 1.8%. This is far below the norm of 2.2 to 3.5% GDP growth. In order for us to get out of the national debt, we need to be growing at a rate of roughly 8 to 9% over the next 7 to 12 years. And in that video, I talked about how a recession is not baked in. And though it looks like we're not going to be going into a recession, we have some form of slowdown occurring. In that video, I stated that short of an AI and automation boom, it's going to be nearly impossible to have some form of huge economic growth. Coupled with this, we are seeing imports actually starting to grow while exports are staying pretty average. And this is extremely important because one of Trump's key components of this economic boom that the One Big Beautiful Bill was supposed to bring was an export boom and an import drop. This is becoming a very, very critical issue. This debt, when it does start getting out of control, it doesn't matter what they set the interest rate to. The market will determine what the price of that debt is. And if it continues to grow, the price of the money, the interest rate on the money, if we continue to show that we are not going to be able to pay it back, they're going to ask for higher interest rates. And if the higher interest rates on that debt continue to expand, then the debt will continue to expand. And we will not be able to get back to any form of health. If anything, it will just lead to further economic issues. Now, why is this important? This is important because the violence that we've seen so far in the country, when money stops to actually flow, when the interest expense starts to make it so that Social Security checks won't be able to make up for the rate of inflation, when Medicare can't be covered, when Medicaid can't be covered, when the money actually, nominally it won't stop, but when you get a $500 check in the mail, but the expenses to even buy what you used to be able to buy for that $500, let's say, is now $1,000. The violence we've seen is
like, we're in it. This is the part in the history books that like has a name to the event, but like we're in it, so it's not being named. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was the Great War before they knew that there was going to be a World War II. And then, mind you, during World War I, they didn't know that it was going to be called World War I. You know what I mean? But we're definitely in the collapse. It's not the collapse is coming. No, like, everything is failing currently, actively right now. The empire is collapsing right now. We are in the collapse of the American empire experiment. The experiment, and I've said this before, clearly has failed. Patriarchy has failed. The system of capitalism was not correct. Didn't really do much. Didn't really help. That including racism, on top of a whole bunch of other things, but racism being one of the things that literally built the country. Brick by brick, literally. Yeah, we're in the collapse. The collapse is now. Yeah, that's why everything looks so chaotic and crazy. And it's like, what's actually going on? It's because we're not actually on our way towards a collapse. This is just actually the collapse currently happening. And that's why we can't really make sense of anything. And it feels like so much is going on. We're not realizing like this is the part in the history books that already has a name, but they haven't named it yet because we're currently going through it. You know what I mean? But like this is the collapse of the American empire. I fully believe that. Absolutely.
And let's actually call it what it is, a depression. People can't afford groceries, they can't afford rent, they can't afford buying houses, they can't afford having babies, they can't afford having the kids in general if they already have them. We are not in a good spot, y'all. I know that I'm just a number in a company, but I thought I was okay. You're going to think that you're okay because you've worked there for so long or you have the right experience. Like, you guys, I have an undergraduate in marketing, a master's in business, 6 years of paid social media experience, both on a strategist and manager level. I have done people management for at least 3 years. I'm a senior level in my career. And yet, when I was hired to do a senior level role, I was forced into entry level positions. I was doing entry-level work as a senior-level strategist, all while at the same time being asked to reduce my workload with AI, and our team was having layoffs every 3 months. I should have seen it coming. I really should have. But the thing is that it was not something that I saw coming, because the day before that they laid me off, I was literally talking coverage plans with another employee who was going on leave for months. How am I supposed to sit there and not think that I'm safe in that moment? I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that we live in a world like this where my manager wasn't even the one that fired me, by the way, or laid me off. It was frickin' HR, and they read off a script, but my whole team got laid off. And this is the reality for a lot of Americans right now. My partner is a first responder, so I'm very lucky for the fact that I can be leaning on him for support right now, because luckily his job is secure, thanks to the fact that number one, his job is essential, and number two, he has a union behind him. What I will never understand is why corporate agencies have not unionized. We're not allowed, right? We're not allowed. That's part of it. We'll get fired because at least in this corporate world, they're always going to side on the side of business because that's what's making the government money. This world right now is not supporting people. It is supporting business. You are just a number, unfortunately. So please prepare yourself for shit like this. I wish I would have. I wish I'd been applying to other jobs months ago. I just was so dumb to not realize the signs. I want to talk about it. I think people need to talk about it. I think we need to make this more public. We all saw the jobs report. It was awful. Getting laid off on the day that the jobs report goes out, and it's 22,000 instead of 75,000 new jobs. You know how discouraging that is? If you know of anything in the marketing space, let me know. Use my comments as a way in which to maybe trauma dump. I don't care, vent. I'm here for you guys. I can't believe this. And I'm really sorry if you're going through this too.
US News won't show you this, but I will. For the first time ever, more countries around the world viewed the US negatively than positively. Want to guess why? The 2025 Democracy Perception Index surveyed over 110,000 people in 100 different countries, and the results are not great for the US. America's global image has collapsed. In fact, even China is viewed more positively than the United States around the world. The US dropped from 22% approval rating last year to negative 5% this year. According to this index, Donald Trump is the least liked public figure. Only 27% of the people polled view him positively, even ranking below Vladimir Putin. And when asked why, former NATO Security General said, "It's no surprise that opinions have slipped, even among people like me who have spent their lives admiring the United States and what it stood for." He then went on to say that America's credibility is collapsing, and the reason is Donald Trump. He cited Trump's trade wars, bullying allies, engaging in, quote, chaotic diplomacy. And he's right. Sadly, the US is no longer the democratic model to follow. What do you guys think?
Hi, I'm Kylie, and white conservatives are terrified of POC outnumbering us. And I truly believe this is the motivation behind a lot of hateful policies in the US. If you haven't heard of the Great Replacement Theory, it is that over time, if enough black and brown immigrants come to the US, as well as white people having children with POC, then over time, POC will outnumber white people. And the reason that this is so unsettling to a lot of white people, especially conservative white people, is that they are terrified that if POC become in power, then they will treat us like we've treated them in the past, which is obviously not great. It involves subjugation of people, enslavement, assault, violence of basically every kind. And I think that white people can feel the shift happening as they are becoming more and more outnumbered. And that is why they are clinging so tightly to power in Congress and with the president right now. And that's why it's so funny when white people deny that racism exists, because if they didn't think racism did exist, they wouldn't be scared of being outnumbered. But they understand the ways that we have treated people of color has been atrocious, and thus they are scared of the tables turning and of being in that position of subjugation.
Now guys, for centuries, they have told black people to shut up and move on. They said they should stop complaining because they are free. Black people are silenced in that they don't explain or complain anything anymore. Therefore, reading their mind has become a heavy task for the system because they don't know what these black people are planning for them. Black people today are not begging for being understood or to get some approval because they have seen enough. They have seen too much. They're just sitting down, watching, learning, and building in silence. And that is what is worrying the white Americans very much, because they can't tell what these guys are planning. Black people are no longer shouting for justice, but instead they're creating their own system of justice. They're no longer asking for seats at the table. Instead, they're building their own tables where they can have a seat. Black people are no longer asking for inclusion. They are creating their own spaces where they are comfortable. And that's why the fear is setting in. Because when black people move in silence, the power dynamic flips. You know, it is very much difficult for one to control what he can't see or even hear. Therefore, controlling black people has become so hectic because you cannot control what you can't understand or what you can't hear speaking. That is really worrying these white Americans because they used to control black people through violence, through riots, through protest. But today, blacks have gone silent. Therefore, controlling them is not easy. And for the first time, they are realizing that the empire they built on the backs of the black people is falling apart in front of them. And therefore, they can't control it. The economy is unstable, politics are collapsing, and their moral ground has disappeared. And above all, black people are still standing still, calm and focused, because the mission is to create our own space. They called black people lazy, but remember, black Americans built the America that we see today. They called black people violent, but they are the ones who have spilled blood for centuries. They called black people ignorant, but the black silence today is now speaking louder than their noises. That's why they are now going nuts. They're now going nuts. They have started to get worried of the black silence, because when someone is silent, you don't know what is planning in a silent mode. You can't tell his next step in a silent mode, because deep down they know that black silence is not defeat. They know that. It is discipline. It is strategy. Therefore, they must get worried of the black silence. So let's not worry. Let's make them panic. Let them whisper. Let them question the black silence. But we know what we are doing, because black people, black Americans have had enough. They have seen enough. It's time to strategize how we're gonna create our own spaces for our generation than protesting for people who don't understand us. Protesting for people who can't even respect us. Now it is time for black people, the black Americans, to create their own spaces where they are comfortable, where they are loved, where they are respected. Guys, what do you think about that? Please talk to me in the comment section. If you love this video, please subscribe and leave me a comment in the comment section. And guys, this is your brother Fred from the motherland. Thanks so much guys for this mileage. And it has not been easy, and I appreciate each and every person who has been here to watch these videos, guys. Please subscribe for much more like this, because we still have a lot to discuss with you and to bring to you. Thanks so much guys, and let's meet again in my next video.